we hope to just bless your socks off. I was ironing a shirt yesterday, and not like I always iron shirts. My wife irons a lot of shirts, but I was ironing a shirt, and it's just automatic. You know, I put it on the narrow end of the ironing board and kind of do the collar shoulder thingy, and then the sleeves, and finish with always the collar, and it's like, why do it this way? And it's just exactly how my mother taught me to iron a shirt when I was, I don't know, maybe junior high school or whatever. So you gotta learn, you need to know how to do this, okay? So, like a good mom, she wanted to teach me things, and she tried to teach me a whole lot of other things. And she said, you always need to be kind. Anybody else's mother? And she said, you need to be kind to people that are different than you, and the people that you see as strangers. Well, like all of us as parents, there's always a disconnect when our actions do not match our words. Because there were certain people that my mother was kind of either put off by or afraid of, who were different. And so, what you really learn is the actions of the person. And so, that's one of the issues that is just part of life. And it's kind of why I think the Bible is so pushy, if you will, about this issue of welcome. The scripture today is real short. It's from the book of Hebrews, 13th chapter. Let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that some have entertained angels without knowing it. The Bible needs to be pushy because we tend to be kind of tribal, if you will. Birds of a feather flock together. We usually hang around with people that are a lot like us. We don't necessarily want to be involved with people that are real different than us. It doesn't work so well with church. I love the song, guys. Jesus didn't die for you to just to pick out who's going to come. Those arms are open for everyone. But sometimes churches just kind of fade away because their evangelism program is, let's see if we can find some young people that look just exactly like us old people. Yeah, well, good luck with that, Or when someone comes in with a new idea, wait a minute, it's like, the 7 last words of the church. We never did it that way before. There's this struggle to welcome. And then there's this whole issue of Jesus puts us in a whole different light with these attitudes in terms of his emphasis on welcome and love. The word stranger in the New Revised Standard Version or whatever, is found 62 times. And most of the times it's referencing that the strangers were in our midst, or not strange, but in terms of describing people, descriptive, that they were strangers to us. But there are 10 places where it's explicitly positive. For example, in Old Testament book of Deuteronomy, you shall love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Luke, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Romans, contribute to the needs of the saints, extend hospitality to strangers. And then you heard the words from Hebrews read today. Now, number of years ago, I started hearing this phrase, stranger danger. I mean, I think my kids were already, like, out of the house before that kind of became popular. Now, if I understand right, the concept was teach your kids that there are predators in the world and that they have nifty ways by offering you a chance to help them look for their lost pet or candy or something to entice you into something that you don't want to have happen. Well, and that's a wise thing. People are always around those who would take advantage in one way or another. But actually, abuse almost always happens with someone that the child knows. It's a reality. And, stranger danger is a great concept, and it's an important thing to teach. But we as, adults need to be a little less wary about folks that might be a little different than us. For today, I just want to talk about refining the stranger for more than someone that we don't know. Think of the stranger as someone who is different in your social class, or who has a different gender identity, a different race or ethnicity, or sexual orientation, or political ideology, who is a different age than you, who is different in their mental ability or their physical ability, or their language skill, or their country of origin, or their religious background, or any other designation that has brought them the pain of exclusion and discrimination by the church. The wonderful Christian writer William Barclay said years ago, Christianity was and still should be the religion of the open door. Jesus, in the end of Matthew's gospel, talks about the Son of Man coming in his glory, and there will be a division between the good and the bad, the sheep and the goats. And Jesus' followers, what does that mean? And he said, he'll put the sheep at his right hand and the goats at the left. And he'll say to those on his right, come, you are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. And then they say, well, when did we do this? And he says, truly, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. This is a challenging teaching. Hospitality can be expressed in many ways, but it's really easy to express it to people that are like us, and real hard to express it to people that are different than us, language, culture, age, identity, and so on. Peter Marty, as publisher of Christian Century magazine, he said, living a life aligned with Jesus is extremely difficult. We practice and practice trying to get even a few basic things right. It's mostly unglamorous work, as unglamorous as brushing your teeth at the bookends of the day, or playing scales and arpeggios in endless fashion while learning the piano. I'm thoroughly convinced that nothing resembling expertise exists in the Christian life. How can you become an expert at receiving the totally undeserved mercy of God on a daily basis? There's a reason we speak meaningfully of practicing the faith. It's all practice. If you're thinking, maybe I'm not where I kind of want to be, that's right. I mean, it's practice. We're probably never going to get exactly where we want to be. And Jesus has pointed out that it is our job to reach out to the poor and the crippled and the lame, the ignored and the overlooked. And maybe we ought to add a few other categories upon with suspicious and prejudice and even rage? The immigrant family. Or the person that holds a different political opinion from you, so different that it's easy to see them as less than who they are. And it might mean offering grace and forgiveness to someone in your life who doesn't deserve it and who wouldn't do the same for you. Jesus said there's always room at God's table for everybody, and not worthy persons to be left out. A guy named Claude wrote a book, kind of a children's book for adults about 50 years ago, called A Fuzzy Tale. And I kind of apologize for this in the first service because it's maybe something that my preaching professors wouldn't think would be quite appropriate for a serious worship service. Long ago, in a land far away, there lived a culture of people that when they were born, they were given a small, soft sack that contained warm fuzzies. And they could reach into their sack and take out this little thing. It was small, and when it saw the light of day, it grew in size and became all shaggy. And then you could put it on someone else, like you could put it up by their neck and head. It would kind of nestle in there and make them feel warm and fuzzy and good. And people were always asking for others, you are not having too good a day, and could I have a warm fuzzy? And they would take one out and they would give a warm fuzzy. And people in this land were happy and contented. And they tended to live a long time and be healthy. There was a witch in that land who made her living by selling salves and ointments and potions. But because people were happy and healthy, they did not buy many of her products. So she had a wonderful idea. One day she sought out a man and asked him about his warm fuzzies and said to him, "Now, what's going to happen when they run out? You keep giving them away and soon there won't be any more left." He began to think about that. And she smiled and rode off on her broom and laughed a witch's laugh. Anybody could do that? Oh, yeah, you can use it, want to. Okay. Well, the man thought about it, and he thought, what if I run out of warm fuzzies? So he started restricting his giving of warm fuzzies. His wife noticed it right away. She asked for a warm fuzzy, and he said, "No, maybe not right now." And the children noticed it, and pretty soon other people were concerned about, we're going to run out of warm fuzzies. We better hoard them. And they became a very dear commodity. Well, because people weren't getting warm fuzzies, they were getting unhappy and sick, and some were dying. Well, the witch was having much better business with her salves and ointments and potions, but she didn't want people to die because she was losing customers. So she came up with another idea. She started giving out sacks of something else, cold pricklies. So when someone asked for a warm fuzzy, you want to hold on to your warm fuzzy, but you could give them a cold prickly. There was plenty of them. Well, cold pricklies didn't really make you feel good at all. But, if you're in education and work with children, you know that thank you. Attention is better than no attention at all. So you ask for a warm fuzzy, you get a warm fuzzy, but you got something. And things were a little better. And then people decided, well, we could take these cold pricklies and we could kind of dress them up a little bit. We could paint them and make them moved into this land, and she began to give out warm fuzzies right and left. And people were glad to see that. But other people were worried. And the children were the first to respond because they loved giving out warm fuzzies. And so they started again resuming giving warm fuzzies out to everybody. But then people began to worry about, we're going to run out. We're going to run out of warm fuzzies. So they got together and they passed some laws that you couldn't give out warm fuzzies in excess. So there we have it. And things are undecided. What happened? Did people realize that there was an unending supply of warm fuzzies and they would continue to give them out? Or would they be concerned about the law that says you must limit your giving of warm fuzzies? You can kind of think about what happened. I think today we have some of that practicing Christianity today. I think we need to practice the gift of hospitality. In these confusing times, we don't need to go right or go left. We need to go deep. We need the clarity of the Word. We need to know that God's invitation is always open. And we're always invited to experience God's grace and love. Sit at God's table with all of God's children. It's an invitation to be empowered, not just to answer for ourselves, but to extend that to others. Especially for those children of God that need to know, because they're different, that they are worthy and they're loved. And just like us, they are strangers no more. Come to the table.